Some mysteries are never solved, some truths never surface. This is the story of a family, a quiet neighborhood, and a single day that shattered everything they believed about reality. They call it No One Left the House. The Watkins were an ordinary family of 4, Greg and Marlene, their teenage daughter Lily, and their youngest, Sam, age 9. They lived in a quiet suburban home on a cul-de-sac. 2 stories, a small yard, security cameras on every corner. Greg had installed them himself. Overly cautious, some might say. But he slept better knowing every angle of the house was being watched. It was supposed to keep them safe. It started on a Saturday. Cloudy, uneventful. They stayed home all day, watched TV, played board games, cooked lunch together. Nothing unusual. But around 7:30 p.m, Marlene noticed something odd. Sam asked when they were going to the park again. The park? She asked. We didn't go today, Sam frowned. Yeah, we did. You said we could get ice cream on the way back. Greg laughed it off. That was yesterday, buddy. But then Lily chimed in. No, he's right. We did go today. Greg pulled up the security footage. More out of curiosity than concern. The system stored footage for the past 72 hours. Every movement, every door opening. He skipped to 3:12 p.m, and there it was. All 4 of them, walking out the front door. Greg locking it behind them. Marlene carrying her purse. Sam with his toy dinosaur, exactly as Sam described. They didn't just go to the park, they left the house, together. But none of the adults remembered it. The footage showed them returning at 6:06 p.m. Same clothes, same formation, smiling, calm. Greg opened the door. Marlene looked back at the street before walking in. Then, nothing unusual, just a family coming home, except no one had any memory of those 3 hours. No photos on their phones, no receipts, no GPS data. And all of them swore they never left the house that day. That night, Greg couldn't sleep. He watched the footage over and over. He zoomed in, paused frames, checked timestamps. Everything looked normal, but there were details that began to bother him. In the frame where they return, Lily's shirt is inside out. Sam no longer has his toy dinosaur, and Marlene is wearing different earrings. He rewound to the footage of them leaving. The earrings were silver hoops. When she came back, they were gold studs. He asked her the next morning. She looked confused, said she hadn't worn those gold ones in years. The next day, Greg brought up the idea that maybe they were sleepwalking, but Marlene dismissed it. Sleepwalking doesn't explain changing clothes or driving. And who was driving, Lily added. We don't even remember being in the car. Greg froze, because in the footage, there was no car. They walked down the street and vanished off camera, then reappeared 3 hours later from the same direction, as if they'd never gone far. Over the next week, things got worse. Sam complained that the house felt different. Lily said her bedroom door was locked from the inside one morning, and no one could explain how. Marlene woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of the front door opening. But when Greg checked the footage, nothing, except one frame, less than a second, a glitched image, a still shot of the family standing in the living room. But their eyes were wrong, too wide, too dark, too still, like mannequins. Greg backed up all the footage, sent it to a friend in tech. The friend responded with one sentence. There's something embedded in the audio track, I don't know how to explain it. Greg isolated the sound. It was almost inaudible, hidden under layers of ambient noise. But when enhanced, It sounded like voices, repeating a phrase in perfect unison.
"We are home. We are home. We are home."
The Watkins still live in that house. They've tried to move. They put it on the Saskis twice, but both times the listing mysteriously disappeared. Greg uninstalled the security system, not because it was broken, but because it wasn't. Every night at 6:06 p.m, the living room camera still activates, and every night it records 4 people, a man, a woman, a teenage girl, and a boy, standing completely still, smiling at the camera, as if to say, "We never left."
There are places we weren't meant to wander. Old trails, forgotten paths, woods that remember. This is the story of 5 hikers, a warning whispered too late, and a girl who knew what waited in the dark. They call it The Girl in the Woods. They were just looking for an adventure. 5 friends, college classmates on spring break, decided to hike the Ravenmoor Trail, an old forest reserve barely maintained, nestled in a remote corner of the country, the kind of place you won't find on most maps. They parked the car, packed their gear, laughed as they crossed the wooden trail marker half swallowed by moss. They didn't know what kind of trail they were walking into. Around midday, the forest got quiet, too quiet. The birds stopped, the wind held its breath, and then they saw her, a girl, standing by a crooked pine, barefoot and pale. She looked no older than 10. Her dress was white but stained, her hair tangled. She didn't move when they called out, but when they got closer, she spoke, without blinking. "Don't look back after sunset." Then she turned and walked into the woods. No sound, no footprints, just gone. They argued, of course. Seth said she was a local kid playing games. Amber thought she might be in trouble. Jake laughed and called it peak horror movie energy. Only Mia stayed quiet. She'd grown up around stories like this, old warnings whispered in the dark. "Let's just listen," she said. "Can't hurt, right?" But no one took it seriously. They set up camp near a clearing and cooked dinner under a blood-orange sky. The sun dropped fast. As darkness settled, the air got heavier. Branches creaked though there was no wind. Something about the forest shifted. And then the noises started. Snap, rustle, breathing, but not theirs. Amber turned toward the sound behind her. Jake grabbed her shoulder. "Don't," he said, half joking. "You'll summon Slender Man." But she looked anyway, and screamed. After Amber looked, she changed. Her eyes went blank. She didn't speak. She just walked into the woods. The others shouted, chased after her, but she vanished between the trees as if swallowed. "Amber!" No response, only silence. Then Seth turned to run back to camp, but he looked back, just a glance. He stopped mid-step, eyes wide, then dropped to his knees, whispering something unintelligible. Jake tried to drag him up, but it was like pulling stone. Mia didn't move, didn't speak. She was the only one who remembered the warning. Jake broke first. He shouted for help, for cell service, for anything. Then he looked over his shoulder, and his face twisted, mouth opening wider than it should. He started laughing and walked into the woods. Now only Mia and Seth remained, but Seth no longer blinked. His mouth moved constantly, as if repeating a prayer in reverse. Then quietly he got up and walked away. No sound, no goodbye. Mia sat still. She kept her eyes on the fire, She didn't flinch. She didn't sleep. The forest pulsed with something old and watching. All night she heard footsteps behind her, breathing, voices mimicking her friends. Mia, come look. We're fine now. Just turn around. But she never did. Not once. At dawn, a park ranger found Mia curled by the fire pit, alone, eyes red, lips cracked, but alive. She never spoke of what happened in the woods. The others were never found. No tracks, no bodies, no signs they were ever there. And the strangest part? There's no record of any trail called Raven Moor. Not on any map, not in any database. But locals still whisper stories of a pale girl in the forest warning hikers as the sun begins to fall. And they say, if you ever hear her say, "Don't look back after sunset," you listen. Because the ones who don't never leave the woods.